So we'll do that. So thank you for all being here. I just have one little quick, can you see the screen with the events, the opportunities? Okay. So the one change is the book study. We've had to suspend that. Jillian's dad is in his last
experience for you that will help hopefully help you to go deeper into your
days. Jan's here. So that's going to be suspended. So those that have been enjoying that, keep reading the book, and hopefully maybe she'll be back. She just started a new job and has her dad dying. So that's pretty big life events. But Kelly had the relationship group last night. It was really good. And then Melody will have the grief group coming up soon. It's on a Monday. Anka's been doing every Thursday energy alignments. And these are just times to sit in meditation, to connect energetically. I'm really enjoying them. Susan got to go, I know, recently, right, Susan? I don't know if anybody else. No, not you. Another Susan. Okay. She said Susan came, so I assumed it was you. We've got an intentional living circle coming up on the 18th, Enneagram, looking at prejudice. And I think that's so perfect and timely with politics and focus on politics right now. Yoga keeps going. No yoga. There is yoga this Sunday, no yoga next Sunday. And we're in the chat. So that's my announcement. Any questions about what's happening at connecting you with yourself? So welcome again, everyone, to the chat. And we are working with the Empowered Living Workbook, and we're featuring, oh my goodness, do I have the wrong slide up here? Nope, I just have the wrong type highlighted. So we are going to learn from type 3s today, not type 2s. I'm just going to try to go in there and correct it really quickly. My mistake, there we go. And we are going to learn from Amy and Abby and Linda. And thank you three for coming. In honor of what the Enneagram teaches us about diversity, and this is an action that just is a practice that shows I understand that there are people different than me, and I'm going to show up telling others what preference I have with my pronouns. So I ask you to add your desired pronouns to the screen and also your Enneagram point that you're navigating from if you know it. You can do that by going up to the top right-hand corner on most devices. If you can't do it, just let me know and I will make that happen for you. In these panels, unlike the regular chats, we don't have time for everybody to introduce yourself. So if you're new, welcome. And we will have time at the end for you to share questions and feedback for our panelists. So thanks for being here. Thanks for being part of this little chat in the community. We start out always with a centering practice. So welcome Nina and Sang. And I invite you for the practice to play with me and sit with your feet on the floor. There is energy that supports us to choose to do this practice by feeling the earth underneath our feet. So either sitting with your feet on the floor or standing. And then choosing to come into the meditative state that suits you, finding your breath. I'll get maybe closing your eyes, taking your attention in and down to feel your feet on the floor. And if you're seated, your seat in the chair. Noticing the space behind your eyes and between your ears, and moving into the observer, the seat of the part of you that witnesses yourself, the part of you that can notice your parts, your pieces, your breath, how you're sitting, and how you're being. In the Enneagram, we learn to activate our instinctual intelligence by taking time to pause, by surrendering the tension, the resistance in our bodies, by engaging with our breath, and by allowing and accepting this moment as it is. We learn to activate our divine consciousness by sitting in that seat of the observer, by stepping out of our thoughts, the past, the future, the distractions, let them come, let them go. By choosing to be conscious, awake, and present. Relaxing the space behind your eyes, between the brows. By directing the breath. In yoga, we like to use Ujjayi breath. Breathing in and out through the nostrils, listening for that sound at the back of our throat, letting that soothe us, support us, and anchor us into this present state physically and mentally. From this state of presence, I invite you to bring your hands to your heart. And here we activate the heart intelligence, which is remembering that at the core of all of us is love. And knowing that that love gets blocked by trauma, negative experiences, training, societal training, gender training. But we can break through anything that is blocking us to be love, to know love, to feel love from the inside out. And from this place of love, to celebrate our unique expression and the unique expression of everyone else. To show up at point 3, since that's our focus today, owning our preciousness, being authentic, honest, willing to make our actions right actions. The center of the heart at point 3. Knowing our value is not based on anything external. It's something we can enhance by sensing this love from the inside out. Feeling this unconditional love for ourselves so that it naturally shines out to others and to the world and how we interact in the world with kindness and care. Let your witness expand and notice all three centers activated, integrated, and supportive of you right here, right now. To support the value of what we just did, notice how you feel right now, mentally, emotionally, physically, in contrast to how you were just a few minutes ago. And when you're ready, come back. I always feel better with a pause. I hope you do too. I see some smiles. So we start our panels with just a little review. We started in the head center. I know that's different for many of you. And I did that because I wanted to start with this idea of the witness and being conscious. And then we went to the body center um, to really root into the physical. And we're ending with my home center, um, the heart. And we're right in the center of the heart with point 3. And I'm just trying to multitask here and add types. And let's see, Nina said she needed. So on the screen, you can see I started out, the heart center is the home of point 3, and it is the home of 2 and 4 also. I don't multitask very well here. It is a home of the emotional intelligence, which reminds us emotions are messengers. They're not something to become or something to deny or suppress. They're something to use our head center inquiry to ask them, what is this telling me about myself? What is this telling me about my thoughts and my actions? Are they supporting me, or is my emotions telling me this is not good for me? Sometimes our emotions invite us to slow down, especially depression. Depression is a call to stop, to go within. Got somebody else messaging me. And as I said, oh, Yen, sorry, we'll miss you. You can watch the recording. Thanks for letting me know. This intelligence becomes blocked, as I said, by trauma and training and negative experiences, or becoming or denying the emotion. This heart center is related to the law of 3, reminding us that these opposing forces, this duality that we live in, is purposeful. And when we can hold it in neutrality, it allows possibilities outside of our ego's lens. The invitation is to know yourself. It's self-discovery, what the Enneagram's all about, to learn about yourself, to learn about others, and to learn about the world around you, to embrace the challenges and the polarities with curiosity. Heart center also coincides with the heart chakras, this invitation to have affinity with yourself, supports connection to the self and understanding of who and why we do what we do, has self-love, the sense of being loved, that feeling that you may have felt or maybe you're still imagining of being loved from the inside out. Make space for unconditional love and this idea of God as being part of who we are, that we are these co-creators, which comes with a lot of responsibility. The focus is on emotions, where the center is feeling based. The question that these three types feel is, am I loved, valued? Am I seen? What do you think of me? All three types are very image sensitive, and that comes from forgetting that they are love. The emotion includes lack, shame, and guilt, the primary emotion, a lack of self-love, a lack of self-worth, and a lack of identity or owning the identity. Any questions before I go over? Okay. You could disagree with me too. There's lots of room in the Enneagram for multiple uh, understandings. All right, so here's my little spiel on the type 3. They are coined as the motivators, the achievers, the impressionists, the coaches. Um, each type is not meant to contain you. And each person, as we're going to see, that identifies with a type can be very different from their co-parts, their panelist, because each is influenced by 4 different types. And those types are 2, 4, 6, and 9 for the type 3. And each type, remember, has a variance. So a very conscious way of being in their type to an average to a very unconscious or contracted place, a very fearful place. The essential quality at 3, and this is for all of us, we all have the capacity to own this in ourselves, and it is around value. The type 3s can help us remember that value is what we all have innately. They have a skill of showing us in the gifts and talents, this resilience, success, how to accomplish and be the best at anything that we choose to do. They have a special talent that ensures meaning and extraordinary purpose without limits, so without limitation. The hidden desire at point 3, and this is more from the average state, is to be loved for being themselves. And as they fall into a contracted state, it turns into seeking confirmation, validation, action, commitments, and patterns of consistency. They will seek or feel a need to excel. We'll hear that from some of our panelists, or I have a little story Paul just recently shared with me that I can share. Their childhood sensitivity is around image. Again, what do you think of me? Am I impressing you? And do you see my value? They can fall into a hypersensitivity to input, especially around faults or failures. I love watching Paul spin any failure by just shifting the story. He never fails, he just changes the story, the goal. And it's actually quite good energetically. It's a very good talent to have. He can shapeshift it. The lost message is you are loved simply because you breathe with all your gifts, your fears, and your challenges. The holy idea at 3, and again, this is for all of us, is holy hope and harmony. And this holy idea is head center. It's when we're in divine consciousness. It encourages a relaxing into the divine flow, trusting our role as that co-creator. Both remind us that we are human beings, not human doers. and to take right action over just being busy. So really being conscious. I see Abby shaking her head. I think Abby's going to talk to us about that because I've witnessed that in you. Um, the fixation is vanity. So this is how the holy idea, the divine consciousness is lost. And we fall into a contracted state. And this is worldly and fake. It shows up as shape shifting, narcissism, arrogance, competitiveness, this idea of I must win, a narrow, goal oriented focus that can leave out what is most important in life. Early on, when I was learning the Enneagram, a teacher put up on a PowerPoint this picture of a person standing on the top of the hill. They won, but all the competitors were dead. And it was an extreme. I saw Linda just go, ooh. It was an extreme idea about this. I've never seen this in a three, actually, all the threes that I know. But it's this extreme idea that when they become so contracted, the only focus is to win, and they forget about the people who are most important to them. And they get to the top of the hill and they want their people because they're heart people, and they realize, oh, I forgot them. So that's an extreme contracted state, low down on the spectrum. The passion, which is the heart, the awakened heart, this realization. I'm sorry, the virtue is the awakened heart. Um, this is where the three is really connected to love as themselves. And it's described as radiance. It's modest, it's gracious, it's demonstrating the fullness of the heart. It's authentic, it's truthful, it's honest, it's in integrity, um, internally and externally. It has the expression of acceptance of their full spectrum, all of who they are, their emotions, their fears, their faults. And it contains this preciousness, which is humility with grace. This is the awakened heart of the three. It becomes contracted when it falls into self-deceit. So this is where they're lying to themselves. It's a superficial, malleable facade fueled by denial of feelings. It consists of a lot of masks. Um, it's sacrificing their true self to maintain this facade or this front of excellence. It can degrade into an exhausting competing with themselves and others. It has a sense of a closed heart, and at the worst, it can show up cruel defensiveness and with a stubborn stance. I also would add in a disassociated state. The temptation for the average three is to be charming with deceptive adaptation. We love their charm when they're awakened. I certainly do. That's one of the things I so appreciate about my husband, who's the three. He's very complimentary. He's very sweet. And I think you'll see that come out from our panel too. This kindness. But at the average state, they can fall into fake people pleasing in order to manipulate to ensure their success. And sometimes I will say to my husband when he's being super charming, I see through that because I know you're trying to get something. Lastly, the hidden complaint is I'm doing more than you with the positive results, and I can outdo you better, faster, and more than you. Don't you see how awesome I am? And I got that one directly from Paul. I said, what would you say is your hidden complaint? So I need to add that into the workbook. Any questions, comments before we move to featuring our panelists? Okay. The questions on the screen, I'm just going to leave them there for a second and then I'm going to take them down. They're always the same. I found that that's working really good to just have the same questions for each panelist. The only thing that is different is the second question about the descriptors. So I am going to stop the share and we're going to start with Abby because her name is AB. Then go to Amy and then go to Linda. And then we'll take turns having each one of you share first. Once we get through these questions at the end, we'll open it up for those of you who are here to witness and have you ask questions and we'll have them answer. So let's meet our panelists. Start out with Abby. Please introduce yourself and share briefly about your journey with the Enneagram and especially what brought you in and what keeps you here.
So my name is Abby, like Nancy said. I am from Illinois. I am a mother of two. My partner and I have been together since high school. So what brought me to the Enneagram was the classic three. I had a major event and trauma in my life that kind of triggered me to wake up, in a sense. And just from then on, I was not able to kind of turn off the observer that kind of was there witnessing everything. So I had to figure out what was going on. And the Enneagram was timing. My husband was going to come home early from lunch.
And the dog is going on.
They'll be there for a second and they're good. So that's what kind of brought me to the Enneagram, is trying to figure out what was going on and kind of create an explanation, really. And I kind of found myself in the two. And I think part of that was like a healing aspect and also part of the trauma. I kind of leaned on that image of if I could be something for somebody else, and be a helper, then I could have value. And then I found a lot of motherly wisdom in Suzanne Stabile. And then I also found then Nancy and her group. And I think they kind of took and healed my mother, who is a two, kind of healed a lot of that for me. All of that in retrospect, obviously. So that's kind of where I'm at. What keeps me practicing is it's just truth. Every time I come back, it's almost like math at this point. I kind of think of it as spiritual math. It's just simple truth. I think that there is a actual, the same way that you can apply science and you can apply color theory and, you know, just all of the things. I think that there is a deep wisdom and something that we can't really not really tangible in it all. So that's what keeps coming me back, keeps having me come back.
Yeah. Thank you, Abby. Abby has done some amazing deep dives into what she was just talking about, Enneagram and color theory and spiritual teachings. It's been really fun to learn from Abby. All right, Amy, tell us about you.
Mute here. Yeah, okay, so I am, make sure this comes back. Oops, darn it, give me a second, just adjusting. Okay, there we go. So I came to the Enneagram from my work. I worked for a company for 38 years, and I was in the last half of my career was in HR. And as a result of being in HR, one of the things that we did that was incredibly impactful to me personally and created a space for a lot of my personal development and getting to understand myself and others was we developed an internal coaching program within the corporation. And so we had internal coaches that we trained. And then they worked with other executives and other people that wanted someone to talk to become better at what they did. So that takes a lot of years. We spent years actually kind of as a group finding ways to understand ourselves better, and took various tests. As you can imagine, in HR, there's lots of tests that employees get about understanding themselves. There wasn't anything like the Enneagram, though. The minute I was exposed to that, I thought, wow, that is me. This 3, I was like, I've never been understood myself as well as reading about a 3. And what was so fun, Linda and I got to know each other in this experience because she was a partner in the coaching program. I worked with 3s in coaching. And so to kind of let us be as 3s and, talk to each other about it and get a little deeper into it was just delightful. And it's incredibly helpful today. I feel like through that entire experience, I am a very healthy 3. I feel, and gives me more self-awareness of the things that I still carry with me that I am working on even now. The busyness is so true. Gosh, it's just, I'm getting better at saying no. And even in retirement, it's like, I'm busy, and people are like, well, what are you doing? But it's things of passion that I'm doing that just pull me in, and I want to make a difference. So I am still on that path, and yet trying to find space for a little bit of rest and introspection and relaxation. And it's a struggle at times. I mean, I still find myself at the end of the day thinking, what did you do today? What did you do? What was good that you did? It isn't about what you thought, it's what did you do?
Yeah.
And so that pull is incredibly strong. And it's just great to be aware of it more now and have the time to think about it on what I can do to help myself. I think I'm very, I have a lot of empathy for others, and that is what drags me in retirement into things that will help. So I also have to think about myself, though, in that equation.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. So you validated the identifier.
So really shined a light on the essential quality for the 3 of reminding us, even in retirement, we need meaning and we need purpose.
Yeah. Yes, we do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. And Linda, you'll be next. And Linda, thank you so much again for bringing Amy.
My pleasure. So I'm Linda Rams. I live in Glen Carbon, Illinois, which is more in the center part of the state. Abby, I was curious where you're from. Anyway, could tell that later. But I got introduced to the Enneagram probably when I was in my mid 30s. The church that I was going to offered a weekend workshop. And like Amy, I had no trouble identifying myself as a type 3. And it is just, that whole activity, doing, accomplishment, efficiency, just, I felt right at home. But then I probably didn't do a whole lot with it until we started incorporating the Enneagram in the executive coaching program. And so we had an opportunity to do some training. And so I got reconnected with it and got very, very interested in it. And then I ended up taking all of the foundational training classes with the Narrative Enneagram program, and just loved every minute of it. And then since I finished that, I took uh, a program that was led by Sandra Maitre and Russ Hudson using Almas's Keys to the Enneagram book, which is a fascinating book. And that was really, really an interesting program. Anyway, I just keep finding ways to stay engaged with the Enneagram because um, I always learn something about myself. Reading and studying and being in these groups, I always um, have an insight from something that somebody has written or something that someone shares that helps me understand, where I'm stuck, really. And it gives me a way to continue to work with that. Um, so that's really, what keeps me coming back. And I will say one thing, um, Amy made me think of this, because there were 5 type 3s that were very involved in the executive coaching program where Amy worked, and I was an outside consultant. Um, but it was just in the last year or two. I'm not sure if it was in the Keys to the Enneagram program or what, but uh, someone mentioned that type 3s are the most interested in their personal development and of all the types, and they are also keenly interested in helping other people in their personal or supporting other people in their personal development. And when I read that, I was like, okay, totally makes sense because I started my career out in sales and marketing, and I did that for several years. And I really kind of just lucked into being trained as a personal development coach. And as soon as I got comfortable doing that, I was like, this is my vocation in life. I feel like so strongly about it. So anyway, that's enough about that, but
No, I think
I'll
it's
stop there.
perfect. And you really capture that awakened state of the three. The natural state of the three is I want to be the best, but the awakened state of the three is to really dive into this deeper work. And it sounds like all three of you have done that. Linda and I met because we both did the Jennifer Joes course. And those of you that know me, I highly recommend her book, and I recommend it in the Empowered Living course workbook. It really, it's not about types. It's about using the wisdom to do the deeper work. Really cool.
Can I just say something else about that
Yeah,
really
yeah.
quickly? Because what she does in that book, what is that book called? I forgot.
The
What's the
Enneagram
title?
symbol, the Enneagram
Enneagram
symbol.
symbol. What she does is she marries the Enneagram with the hero's journey, Joseph Campbell's hero's journey. It is so fascinating. That
Mhm.
book, I mean, it's deep, but it's fascinating. And the other thing I wanted to mention real quickly was I also did all the foundational classes in Marion Gilbert's somatic
Somatic.
Enneagram
Yeah.
training, which I think is particularly important for a type 3 because we're so outward focused. We push all of our energy outward. And what she does in that is help you learn how to turn it inward, which is a huge developmental piece for the 3.
Yeah. I think it's important. Marianne's work, it helps every type for a different reason.
Yeah.
So another great teacher you can look up. She's a narrative teacher who focuses mostly on somatic teachings. All right, our next question, Amy, we're going to start with you, and you already talked about this a little bit, but I wonder, I've got the descriptors motivator, achiever, impressionist, coach. Um, is there other ways that you would describe type 3 or something that I didn't mention in my little brief overview that you want to talk about for type 3 for your lens?
Yeah, there is. I've thought about it since we had the questions, and I would add for what the work that I'm doing now, I would, and probably before, but now I'm more aware of it, is collaborator. I feel like my role in a lot of the work that I do out in the community is bringing people together for a common purpose and appreciating what they know about it. With so many times in groups like that, people are ready to create something new because they think we don't already have it if we're trying to solve a community problem or issue or any problem or issue in some way. But what I've been noticing over the past few years is people have a lot to offer that already exists, and that if we can get the group together and passionate about a particular outcome or vision or where we're going, you get farther than you can ever imagine when you just bring them in and have them offer what they have already, and takes you down a path that's better than you could have ever conceived of at the beginning. So I'm really feel excited about being able to bring out the best in others. And I think that probably originated from coaching. That is the spirit of coaching, is knowing that the answer lies within others and then just getting that out so that they can own it and think through it for themselves. And then the collaborator part comes together with you, where you get that group that all has something to offer and bring that out of them.
You make me think of again, I'm going to bring in my husband, just bring in a fourth panelist. This talent that the awakened 3 has is the ability to empower the other. It's like, this is the words motivator and coach come from, and collaborator. He's in he's he's in sales, but he says, I never sell. He will say, I don't do sales. I help my customer be the best that they can be. And he actually really does. Like, he's not sugarcoating. That's not a fancy thing. That's how he approaches it. He really builds relationship. And I think that goes along with what you're saying, this collaborator. So I'm hoping the audience really feels this talent that the 3 has around empowering.
Hey, your husband's a 3, right? Sure.
Yes.
He gets it.
Yes. That's why I'm talking about him. I'm not just I tried to get him to come, but he said, I have too many fires to put out, he said. All right, Linda, thank you, Amy. That was really good. Linda, what would you add?
Well, I had 3 words that I thought should be kind of added or could be added. One of them I already mentioned in my introduction, which is efficiency. Efficiency is a huge thing. I mean, when I am looking at how to get something done,
Yeah.
it is a natural talent that I have to figure out how to do it most efficiently. Which, using Amy's word collaboration, I'm the president of our homeowners association here in our neighborhood. And we have 4 board members. Okay. I've been on the board for 5 years. And in those 5 years, I either do 2 or 3 of the jobs. Nobody wants to be on the board. And I mean, there actually are people in those positions, but everybody is busy, exceedingly busy. But because I'm semi-retired, I have more time to do this kind of stuff. Plus, I see, how it should be done, how it can be done efficiently. And I kind of do all these things effortlessly. Um, but I think another thing a three brings is positivity. We're optimistic. We always think we're going to be able to accomplish whatever we can. And in a group, it's helpful. You can keep the bar high and you can keep other people feeling like, yeah, we can do this because, the three is there, championing, the cause and the outcome and all of that. And the third word is perseverance. I mean, if we have a goal in mind, we're going to keep at it until it gets accomplished because failure is, a non-starter. And, you were talking about how Paul kind of, maybe recontextualizes things. But, on the other hand, I mean, we just will not fail. And so a lot of other things may have to go by the wayside in order to get the result accomplished, but we will do it.
Yeah. And I've heard that many times through the Enneagram world. If you want to get something done, give it to a three. And it's because this gift and curse of tenacity, you're gonna get it done. Yeah, thank you. Abby, what more can you add?
No, they did a great job. I already liked the words. When I first started out, the words for three were not good. We are image based, so when you put us into something, we're like, and we can be that shape shifting chameleon. It's like, well, I could be anything on this Enneagram. What you got? Can't fit into something. And now that they are using more like motivator, achiever, and then the impressionist specifically, I thought was really good because one, that gives so when you're trying to put a label for something, yes, you're trying to give an image for other people to kind of get an idea of what a three is. So for me, I actually like three because it is just the number showing the perspective point at to which you're looking at everyone else. So, but without any image and label to it. However, then from that, the subcategories, I do like the impressionist because that specifically is your, like the impressionist art, you're taking that light. I had to look it up. And so this isn't coming from me. But they take that light and they apply it through and how it reflects off. And, they take that, it is kind of an immediate impression where they're just putting the broad strokes and they're creating this literal image and impression that forms and solidifies for people. So I think that's a really good one. So I don't know if I really have much more to add other than, it's all nuance with threes. It is, as soon as you turn it into something, it's the opposite. I think that's why we're self-deceiving and other people are like, oh, they're deceivers. And it's like, no, the joke's on us. We're, I kind of like, we're idiots in the best way. We'll say we're foolish in the best way. And so we can take anything, we can put that spin to it, and, make it work out for us. So that's what I have to add to it. And I can even now, like I can see myself getting into like the performing laugh, joke, hip hop, tap dance aspect of it. And it's like, okay, that's good because it is good to see that person and to see how a three would act. But it's also deeper in that because it's so true to my core that what I am speaking, and that's something with the three, is if I tried very hard not to plan what I read the answers just so I could know so I could be prepared for you. But I tried very hard not to be prepared with what I was going to say, because when I plan and prepare something, I'm performing it. And so I had to make sure that I was being me and I was showing up. And so word vomit as I must, that's what comes out. you know? So I think that's something with adding that layer to it would be important, because, you know, that's, you have to kind of go so far in order to be able to kind of come back up and actually give something to label it and actually give it a form.
Wow, that was good. That was really good. Thank you. All right, question number 3. Linda, we're going to start with you. Going into the shadow. So, like, thinking about the spectrum, can you give us a personal story about facing the fixation, moving to the holy idea, or the passion, moving to the virtue, or probably something that includes a little bit of both? But something for us to see how you live the spectrum, how you navigate through with your lens.
So are we going to also, are you going to ask a question later about the holy ideas and the passion and the virtue? Or
Nope,
is this all?
just these
Okay.
5 questions.
Okay. So well, we have an adult son with autism, and he has limited language. He's smart, but he can do so many things. He has so many skills, but he has limited language. And when you have limited language, that really, you know, is a severe limitation in life. But from the time he was very small, when we first started noticing this and we got the diagnosis and, tried to educate ourselves and, what could we do to help him be his best? Um, I felt that it was my responsibility primarily to ensure that we just did everything that we could do for him. And when I looked up so the fixation for a type 3 is the vanity, and the definition that I found was excessive pride in one's accomplishments and one's centrality to results getting produced. That to me is like the biggest stuckness that I have in life, is believing that I must be personally involved in order to get the best results. And so, and this plays out everywhere in my life, but probably, most prominently, with respect to where our son is concerned, because I just feel compelled to continue to stay super involved in a lot of aspects of his life. He has his own home now with caregivers, but right now we're kind of in between caregivers. So I've had to he's moved back in with us, and I've had to kind of take over managing things again. But to me, my biggest area of stuckness in life is over not trusting. I mean, it is believing that I have to be involved, but the flip side of that is I do not trust the universe to bring about the best result.
Yeah, and that's the
And
holy idea. Yeah.
yeah, so that's really what I, am working on these days in all aspects of my life, is trying to step back a little bit and try to practice trusting the universe, because it's exhausting being the person who has to be centrally involved at a very high level to make sure that results get produced.
Yeah. Thank you. We really feel that need for action.
Mhm.
Yeah, thank you. I want to talk to you later about my little grandson. He's doing really good.
Oh, good.
Abby, we'll go to you. Can you tell us a story about fixation versus holy idea, or passion versus virtue, or both?
Yeah. So the fixation is like the vanity versus the hope, and like the self-deceit, and versus the harmony. And Linda kind of got into that a little bit with like trusting the universe. So I've always been somebody who has known that there's like a higher power out there, that I've gotten like little synchronicities, and feeling like I'm on the right road, on the right track. I'm a good person, kind of got away from like organized religion there for a while. And I think that's kind of like that sixth aspect of like that authority, um, in that growth aspect. That's kind of like what I needed to heal a little bit. And I felt, so when the traumatic event was the birth of my child. I was going into marrying my high school sweetheart, went to college, got my degree, came, and we just bought a house, um, was about ready to have our baby. I was getting everything I always wanted. I had the birth plan all laid out. Everything was going exactly according to plan. And little did I know I had a tumor inside me that burst. While I was pregnant, thinking we were going into labor, everything happened exactly as it was supposed to. Again, trusting the universe. It was kind of like, oh, you know how to control things. Well, I'm going to take away and remove that control from you, while also showing I have everything in place exactly how it needed to, in order for you both to survive and make things better for you. And I can see that now. And I laugh when you were talking about your husband, Paul, saying like he can turn everything and into a failure into a positive. And I see that almost in every step of the way. Like, yeah, I can turn those failures of life and just like hardships, and I can spin that and turn it into a positive, because one, like, why would you not? Like, sure, let yourself sink into it and grieve. You need to feel those things, but at the same time, like, let's make it a positive, and let's do something about it. In the aspect of like actually making a difference, not do something as an action, which then goes to the holy hope and harmony, trying to fast forward all of that, realizing, the very last breath I took, and I knew that that was going to be my last breath. I thought to myself, I'm not going to die because of this tumor. I'm going to die because some bitch forgot to turn on my oxygen mask. And because as I was going and getting put down on the operation table, the blood came up, and on my lungs, I couldn't breathe. And to wake up with the breathing tube in my throat and having to breathe with that breathing tube, having to pay attention to my breath, something in me clicked that there was somebody else there that wasn't flesh. And that the very last thing I was going to be leaving in this world was somebody I didn't even know, blaming them and saying like, oh, I could have done this job better. I've never been a nurse in my life. It wasn't even the nurse and the oxygen mask. It was me actually suffocating myself. And it was just a whole metaphor, which, just as a buzzword for threes, I think that's really huge. We take metaphors, we're image focused. You can give me a picture with words, and I'm going to turn that into a whole story and be able to, tell a whole thing with that. So for me, having to trust the universe, I was like, okay, I started to take back control after that. I started learning how I could be better. And I did the whole classic three as a two, mind you, because I was still labeling myself as a two at this point. I was like, oh yeah, I can totally spin this. I can be a helper. I can do this. And getting back control of my life. Wasn't supposed to get pregnant again because the tumor I had was hormonal. I'm trying to spin this and make this really fast. But because of that, I got pregnant again. Again, universe was like, oh, you're trying to control yourself again. Let me throw in another curveball. And again, blessing. But I had to again shift. And now where I'm at is I'm not making a move unless I'm getting confirmation and approval from some higher power. And that's been very hard, because I'm like, what did I do during my day? So right now I'm a stay-at-home mother, kind of working for my husband on the side, but as a 3 doing nothing that amounts to any worth for me. I'm not making a difference in anybody's life other than my my own, maybe, you know. And so it's been very hard, but I'm leaving it up to that proof that has shown me you don't know everything, you don't know better. I'm putting myself on the line of this holy hope and wholly hoping it works out. And I'm put where I'm supposed to be. And I think that as a 3, that's really all we are, is we're supposed to say, I am who I am, and I matter because I am being who I am, not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. But that only comes in the exact moment you're in. So you just have to wait for it. So yeah, I'll stop talking now.
Abby, wow. You're living. No, I hope you're living. You brought us value right here, right now. I just want to congratulate you on that. But it's the awakened 3 that knows you have value without anything external.
Well, that makes it sound good, but it's a lot harder to live it. Trust me.
Yeah, because the drive, the personality has got, and I think Amy talked about it at first, that checklist when she was introducing herself. You know, Paul has a to-do list every day, and at the end of the day, he talks about what he got done. It was a good day because I got this done, I got this done, I got this done, I got that done. And I think at the awakened, which no one ever gets to, that level 1. I mean, we all aspire to get up there, but I see at that level 1, the 3 doesn't have the to-do list, and it's just like, I had value today. And I know you're
As a
doing.
mom who's been in kids in grade school and living day to day and failing because you did leave something out and you made a mistake, it's been literally terrible. But in the best way. But yeah, and as a 3, I'm going to get to that one.
Oh my God, thank
I'm going to
you.
do it better than everybody else. So I was laughing because I went back to the relationship levels of the 3 today on the Enneagram Institute, because that's how I started, as the Enneagram Institute, just looking at and reading through all those. And so I went back to check just what the 3 was, and it was basically you make fun of yourself, self-depreciating humor. I'm like, spot on.
What level?
Maybe level 1. So look at me.
Yay! Yeah, because you're letting go of the image.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, we can go right back down to 8 and 9 real quick too.
Thank you. Thank you. That was awesome. You also gave us a little feel. So 3s are one of the 3 types that are the triangle types. And so they have both, they're gifted with a center connection to heart, head, and body. And they're also cursed with a center connection with head, heart, and body. So something to just, I think Abby brought that out too. And so did Linda with this highlight on the control. But Amy, let's hear from you. This was so good.
Well, this is good. I don't have anything quite as dramatic, but I think when I listened to this, I think for me, I worked for a long time in a very male-dominated workplace. And the effect that had on me was the things that I brought weren't necessarily valued in their world. It was more of a technology, mathematics, analytic point of view, which all of that is fine, but there wasn't a lot of value around the empathy and the coaching and the bringing the best out of people around me. And that's still true today. I still see it on people today. So I'm a people pleaser as well. I think that's another part of the 3ness. Mm-hmm. And so when you're working so hard to please people who want to see you differently than what you are, it's kind of works on you a bit and doesn't let you be the best that you can be, because you're constantly trying to be what they want you to be and what they're asking for, instead of appreciating what they have there. And so getting involved in all of this helped in so many ways. I also, a woman in the workplace at the time that I was there was lots of the people that I started with did not come back to work, a lot of the moms. So there's guilt. So, got some guilt, got a non-appreciation perhaps of the things that I felt were important to make us successful. And so it was kind of until I got into the field of where I was in HR, which was probably about a third of the way in my career. I was so fortunate. I didn't ask for this. I fell into it, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me. And it just led me places I would never have expected to be able to grow and thrive and do in the workplace, because as a 3, you kind of find things that need fixing and you go do it. So you get involved in a lot of cool things. And I was with a camaraderie of people who were all interested in personal development and bringing the strengths that people bring into the workplace, and that all kind of shifted. So it's just been a gift all along, even to my daughters, who I was raising 2 girls at the time. And even today, I'm grateful, so grateful for that, what I can give to them, and just the people I met. Like, see, this, okay, I got another question. I haven't had this on my list. I'm a 3. I cry so freaking easily. It's ridiculous. And it's frustrating to me, because I have things I want to say, and then my emotion gets in the way. But when I read about 3s, so my emotion is not turned inward. It's when I look out and what I'm trying to do, and who is being affected by it. It makes me emotional. Even just talking about this simple little point.
I know many 3s who are very emotional, and I think you have to be in the upper average to, I think it's a good sign. You're the center of the 3. You're or the center of the heart center. You're the center of the emotional intelligence. And we want to have the emotion, not become it, not deny it. So as the 3 contracts, it does deny it. But as the 3 awakens, you have it. And not like a 4 becoming it. The 4 falls into becoming the emotion really easy. So can the 2. And I imagine the 3 can too, but I don't know a lot of 3s who become the emotion, but just having it is quite beautiful. There is a gentleman I know from the Enneagram Prison Project, and every single meeting he cried, and we
Well,
love
thank
it.
you. Yeah.
You're not alone. You're not alone there. So,
Wait, an interesting thing about it, just one little quick story. Years ago, this would have been, oh my gosh, probably 30 years ago. I went to Deborah Tannen, she was a person at the time that talked about the workplace and dealing with men and women. There was kind of this whole men and women thing going on, the Venus and Mars thing and all that. So she was a part of that. And in her speak in the conference, she talked about never, ever cry at work. Like, the women, never. So I raised my hand. I was like, I don't know what you expect, but I cry. I can't. Men yell at times. It's an emotion. So I said, I don't know how you expect. Please tell me how you expect and why it is so important for me to suppress my emotion when I'm in a business world. I don't understand. And she said something, I don't know, but I think it was kind of still, well, stop. And I'm like, no, I don't. Okay. I've had so many men and women come up to me afterwards just for that comment, that were also saying, hey, I get it. What am I supposed to do when a woman does cry in front of me? I said, hand him a Kleenex and give him a few minutes, and let's go on with whatever you're doing. That's all I need. I need a little time sometimes.
yeah,
But
I think that's where feminism went wrong. It's
yeah,
where feminism denied the gift of the feminine to feel and express. Yeah. Thank you for being you. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. That was really good. And so important for people to know about the three, and the capacity and the possibilities at three. I was going to share just Paul's little story that he experienced. If he was going to be here, it was something he was going to share. He is going to have a birthday this Sunday. He's going to be 71, and he's done a whole bunch of soul searching about retirement, and he's not going to retire. He has purpose and meaning. He has a lot of freedom. We travel a lot. We spent 3 weeks in Greece, and we've spent a couple weeks in Ireland, and he continues to, with that tenacity, he is able to, vacation and keep his business going. So his idea is, why should I quit? But on that note, he recently, his person above him, next climbing the ladder up, left. And he was talking about how hard it's been. And I think this goes with what Abby is talking about too, how hard it's been not to raise his hand to take that position. And he said, I am like having to literally sit on my hands and bite my lip because they keep asking him, he would get the job like that. He's super qualified. He's done that level of leadership before. He would be awesome. But he says, I would be giving up this ability to have meaning in my life. I would fall into achieve, being that guy at the top of the hill, but missing out on what's important. And so I said, oh my God, that's such a good story. You got to tell that. So I'm telling it for him. Go ahead, Amy.
Well, no, I said that is perfect. And I think that's one thing with threes is you would need to be centered in what's important to you in life, because if you let your threeness just be, you just go where there's something that intrigues you, or you can do, many of us have said it in this conversation, you can get it done, you can do it better, you can probably feel good about what you've accomplished. And it's so compelling that unless you are grounded in what is important to you at any given moment. Yeah.
Yeah, and it is this distorted belief too that I see in him that he can do a lot. So another funny thing is he has a little seesaw picture on his computer, like he just has a little picture on the side, and it has on the seesaw, it has work. On the other side, it's everything else. And I've had to say, can you see how that's not good? Like, what about you? What about your health? What about enjoyment? What about like, I think, but that's his mindset. No, I work because it gives me meaning and purpose. And then I can do everything else as the other half. Do any of you have a comment on that? Is my lens distorted? Seeing?
Nancy, when you explained that, I was like, first, it makes total sense that everything else would be because work is so compelling, and it's where it's the easiest place to get a sense of accomplishment in life, a tangible, concrete sense of accomplishment, which is what threes need.
It's the
So,
juice. Yeah.
yeah.
Like I think one of the problems so I came into obviously the male dominated society. A lot of the women had already kind of gotten up into the industry, had to handle a lot of that, but the expectation was still as a woman to be successful like a man. And I think we're starting to, and as a three, I played into that until I got woken up to realize, oh, I could have died and now I have to go back to this job. I went to school to be a teacher. I got a job because naturally I was good and impressionable. And so I got a job as a loan officer doing sales, and I was good at it. And I knew it wasn't fulfilling in any way other than just being good. And I knew that I was just a person doing a job for them. And I wanted to matter. I wanted them to make it, I wanted to know that they were going to feel it when I died, and that like what hole I was going to leave. And so for me, it was like school was so good because I can ace something, but I knew that I didn't actually know that material or um, really understand it in a way, but I could ace the test and I got the accolades from the teacher. So I was a star performer and it was wonderful. And then as soon as I got out of school, I was like, oh, where do I get this? Where is it now? And then to not have that, and I almost like, I'd love to get, if work, I want to be busy all the time. My energy doesn't run out. I'm Energizer Bunny. And the more I go, the more energy I have. Like sometimes I'll even tell my husband, I've been sober from weed for almost a year now. But if I get talking and I get going, I feel high. I can get so up there that I feel higher than a kite and completely sober. And I could go all day. So if I could get paid for that, that would be wonderful. And I can see how actors and stuff can get almost addicted to that line of work and put themselves into like the work-life balance aspect. But it's because of that external validation that we get. People say like, I get paid in chuckles and laughs. Like I can, and it is, but I have to get to a point where I love that that happens for the person, because that might be the only chuckle, or that might be the only light in their day. But I got to go home to me, and I know that it's still like clouds, and I can still be that cloud. And if I remove that star performer, everybody acts as if I died. Everybody acts as if like, what's going on? And I'm like, this is me 20% of what I was. This isn't even hitting zero. And then you almost get, it's not resentment, but it is that. And I wrote it down. Somebody had said it, but like, well, if I remove myself, like who am I if I'm not there? And my value is in my presence. And I kind of think that is that stress part of the 9 going in there of recognizing it is just our presence that does it. But what part of me am I presenting, and what parts are real? And so then you got to kind of look at those. And people say a lot with 3s, like, who are you? What's the same in each group that you're in? Because you'll be what you need to be for whatever group you're sitting in. And it's kind of what remains there, but you do, and you have to find a safe space to do it, because it can go haywire. You kind of throw it the other direction where, my humor can get nasty, or it can get hateful. I could use I can be the making fun of myself. Somebody else is like, that doesn't make me feel good when you're throwing, you're throwing me under the bus. It's like, I'll throw myself under the bus all day. I don't get, it doesn't hurt me. So I don't know. I lost track of what I was saying.
That was really good. You really dove into the next question. And it was, what else do you want us to know? And maybe you can expand on the second part of that question. What would help you if we could just understand this about your type lens?
I wrote down earlier, you were saying about someone calling you out. Nobody calls me out. Nobody, and it's not like a challenger of an 8. Like I even have 8 friends and they still don't call me out. And so nobody stops to say, hold on, correct, or pause, or what are you doing? Like, I don't know what that is, but I would love to be in a room with people who And that's why I love self-development. I think, Amy was talking about that, and Linda had mentioned about threes loving the self-development. I think it's because we need to be in a group to see our own deceit, and hearing from other people helps us hear ourselves, because otherwise we couldn't do it. That was my biggest self-development, is I've listened to an ungodly amount of podcasts and audiobooks, and it's because I have to hear it in order to contemplate it and be able to see it. It's like mirror, almost like I have to have it mirrored to me. But nobody's ever stopped me and been like, Abby, what are you doing? Like, you're being deceptive. When you're like calling you out for it, like nobody's done it. I'd love for somebody to be like, you're faking it, or you're not being you, or, and it's literally never happened. I feel like I always get, oh, Abby. And it's like, really, all the time? I can't be that good all the time. And then people are like, oh, nope. And I've been hateful. So it's like Nancy, she thought I was a 6 for a while. And I was like, Nancy, you see me, and I've grown better in my healthiness, but she saw me as my healthiest, which obviously she would see the 6 side of me. She didn't see the other side. So I think we're good at doing that. And we can fake it for enough time, but when you're in my life and you're around me, when you're talking about that hill of people, I was working to be my best self this past decade. And then I look around and I'm like, oh my, who's left? Like, I don't have coworkers anymore. My high school friends, I don't see anymore. I'm left with my family, and poor them, because, to be around somebody who's trying to constantly be better, well, then they're never good enough. And so then, yeah, their bodies all are scattered around me. And then, you get to that mountain, and to me, it doesn't feel like a mountain. To me, I'm just like, I'm still in the valley struggling. And to them, they're like, you just ghost, you left us here. What do we do now? Well, I'm on this pedestal to them. And I'm like, I don't deserve to be on this pedestal. Mm-hmm. I'll slash myself down.
Thank you. That was good. Amy, how would you answer those questions? What else do you want us to know? And what would help you if we just could understand it?
Okay. Well, one thing so where I am left with, when I came to this, I thought, what are the things that I have the hardest time just letting go of, like just being, and even though I'm fully aware of them now, they still get in my way. So for example, I was always one for years that fun occurred at the end of the work. So the work had to be kind of under control, in my words, under control, which my words were different than anything else, before I could have any moment of pleasure and fun. And that's just too bad. That is just, and I'm still kind of that way. I still am stuck on that. It still interjects itself, even in retirement, even when it's easier to control now, because before there was just so much to do. You're working and kids, and I mean, it's just activity based, all of it. But I still don't have a full handle on it. I still am always thinking about what else do I need to do before I can go and relax. So I need to get better at that. I'm also, for whatever reason, I do have a huge amount of empathy. So my thought is to others first, and then to myself. And so that inhibits me and my family in some ways, especially my husband. He's very patient, but at times it's like he gets what's left at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And I don't want that to be anymore. It's like I'm at a point where that should not be, but it's more strong than what I ever imagined. And so letting go of that and getting that more balanced is what I wake up thinking about now. Often is I want to just chill. I've said to my husband before, if something happens to me that immobilizes me in some way, we've got a lot of friends with health issues and things these days. So let me just tell you right now, while I have a sound mind and body, I feel so sorry for you if that happens to me, because I will be intolerable to live with. I know that. And he said, oh, well, I do too. So let's just let's just pray that that will not happen. But it's just this pull that is just really, really hard. And the empathy part, I remember when shortly after we retired, I could not answer the question. People would say to me, what do you want? We bought this 2 years ago. We bought a place to be a snowbird. And I was buying it for my family, my kids, my grandkids. And finally, the realtor said, how often to your family do you think in the short time that you're doing, will they come visit? I said, well, probably once a year, maybe. Okay. What do you want? How is what you're choosing to do right now? How is it for you? And I was like, that was like a shocking question. And it caught me off guard. I was like, oh my gosh, what do I want? Wow. I think I need to think about that before we make a move here. And it was the best thing that ever happened, because he was absolutely right. And it was lovely and fun for the two of us to be thinking about us instead of everybody else in our life. So I don't know if that's everybody that's a 3, but that's me in spades.
It definitely is the leaning into the 2 and the 9.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. That was so well said. Thank you for all that. I see all of what you said in my beloved husband. Thank you. All right, Linda, finish us up on this question. What else do you want us to know, and what would help you if we just could understand?
Yeah, I resonated with what Abby and Amy said, but the very last part of what Amy was talking about, it takes me back to something that I wanted to mention on the previous question, which is the passion of deceit. And it's not really deceiving other people as much as it's deceiving yourself, which Abby said earlier. And the deeper understanding that I have gotten for myself, I don't know if this is completely accurate or not, but that the deepest self-deceit is that I have value, that I don't believe that I have value just because I am, just because I be in the world. And so then that's what drives all of this focus on activity, results, accomplishment, other people focus, which is why, I'm just in listening today, I'm like, no wonder we exhibit a lot of similar qualities to the 2, because, it's an easy way to externalize, our or manifest this self-deceit, this, mistaken notion that we have that we always have to be focused outward. So that has been a very important learning for me just in the last year or so. But like Amy said, it is the hardest thing to try to shift. So one thing that I have done, and this I started during COVID when, everybody started doing these Zoom groups, is and my formal coaching work for the most part went away during COVID, never to return. And so I started offering study groups on things that I was interested in for my own personal and spiritual development. And it's really been wonderful because it provides a structure for me to take care of myself. and to continue to learn about myself and the things that I'm interested in impacting, my continued development in life. So that's been a huge gift to me. And when I first started them, I think it was a little bit like, oh my gosh, I've got this time. What am I going to do with all this time? It's sort of discomfort that you feel when you're like, I don't have like this long to-do list anymore. But as I've continued with it, I've learned that I ingeniously, unconsciously set up this wonderful structure for myself to give myself permission to spend time on me. And and I always pick things that are going to require that I go in, not out. But, the fact of offering study groups, as you know, and anybody else who does that in this meeting knows, it does have that outward component too. So it's kind of, a good marriage. But in answer to this question, really what I wrote down was offer to help, offer to take things off my plate that I think, only I can do or I should do, or no one else is stepping up to the plate. So, I'll just do it because, uh, I can get resentful about all the things that I think I have to do. So really it's offering to help, giving the gift of rest, uh, and time alone. I crave having time alone.
Yeah.
To just do what I want to do instead of always doing what I think I need to be doing for other people.
Can I
Yeah.
ask something really quick?
Sure.
Because I would like, do you spend time alone? Or is there something, because my alone time is always still with something external. So it's music, TV, books, audio tape. Like if I turn everything off and then I gotta be cooking, then I gotta be doing something. So it's very hard for me to sit and be like, let me just, even like if I meditate, it's like, well, I could just go to sleep at a slow L nap. So it's like I'm still, I'm wondering if that's something that's going to be important with threes is the alone time. Is it truly, are we truly comfortable alone and with ourselves? Because it wasn't until recently where like I kind of entertained myself, and I shut that down a lot when I was younger, where I would be talking to myself and communicating and just kind of entertaining myself, and that when that became not enough because I had to externalize it somehow. And I've been getting back to it and playing, but I just, that was a question maybe I think would be good to.
That's a great question. What do you want to say, Linda, and then Amy?
Um, Usually my alone time is being actively engaged with something. More for me, it's books or podcasts. But um, I do have a meditation practice, and I consider it like one of the most important things I do for myself every day is just sit by myself alone with nothing, nothing. Um, but I have to say something really quickly. Amy, you were talking about telling Ron you felt sorry for him if he ever become immobilized. I think about that. I think, okay, what if I had a terminal illness? What if I was bedridden? Um, and I think that's why it's so important for me to have my meditation practice and some of these other somatic practices, because those are the only things you could really do, if you're bedridden. And I try to, just kind of practice that, in the back of my mind as a way to kind of prepare or practice having, extreme patience with myself, if I can't do anything else. But who knows?
Thank you. Thank you. Amy, anything you want to add?
Sure, of course. Being alone is not my first choice ever. And it is my first choice if it is with something, like if it's to read a book or to do something alone, I'm good. To be alone is not something that I give a lot of thought to. However, way back when again, this is kind of a work thing, when people were appreciated because of the number of hours they spent at a desk. Okay, so it's where if you came in early, it always drove me crazy because I knew I was efficient, I could get my work done and get out of there. And I thought that should be rewarded versus someone who comes in and just sticks around all day doing whatever. And what I also found is I couldn't solve the problems if I stayed at my desk that the work brought with it. And the only way I could solve the problems was to be on a walk or something by myself with no distractions. And almost literally every time, the solution was so obvious. But it was not until I had the moment of meditation and thought by myself where it would come. And I remind myself of that now, because it is not my first preference to go for a walk alone. I'm ready to invite a friend. I'm ready to do, be on the iPad, listen to music, whatever. But I try to do it, and the same thing happens. It does happen. Even if I don't even have a problem I'm bringing to that walk, there are things pop in my head that I needed to be aware of and think about that they don't have any room to pop in any other time because I keep myself so busy. So it's the only free time that your mind says, oh, she's there. I could talk to her right now. She needs to remember this, or she needs to go do that. And so it's valuable, but it is not my preference, but it is valuable.
Yeah, the power of the pause, for all types. I'm looking at the time. I want to open it up to our other members and see what questions do you have? And then if we have time, we'll go to that last question. Who's got a question for our panel?
I have a question.
Thank you, Sing.
Oh, I love this panel so much. I really love the three's tender hearts. I really feel it. My question is, um, what do you guys feel about the worldview and the social structure that is organized in a vertical way? There's um, I guess the more accomplished, the more valuable you are, this sort of worldview. How do you feel about that now in your life?
Do you mean like the hierarchy? Like having stuff under like authority? Is that the question?
Hierarchy is a good way to put it. Yes.
Okay.
Also in relation to, if you are underachieving, then you are, viewed as less worthy in this society, for example.
I think it goes with what Paul was facing with, the opportunity, but he chose not to take it, how hard it was to not take it. But go ahead, Abby.
It's redefining worth, because we've put worth in money, time, like she was even saying, sitting at the desk, and it's nuance. And I think it's such a brilliant word with three, and it's almost it's perfectly shifty, because like, okay, I can shift either way on what your answer is, so kind of saying both and helps keep it all an option. But I think it's wrong to have it be dual. I think that there always should be. That's why I like the three and the Enneagram itself. But I do believe that there's a hierarchy. I do believe that there's value in and assigning value, and a vertical and stuff to that, but it's not in material things. And that is hard to assign what's worth something more, and it's going to be different for every person. Sometimes silence is going to be more important to one person, whereas another person, it's going to be music. It's going to be different kind of music, and so it's going to be different. And so I think it's going to be more about, I had wrote down, if I raise your value, so like if I'm able to increase the value and worth that you believe you have to offer, that validates and increases my worth, just naturally, because I'm helping you. And I think that's the external aspect, is I'm always focused on you. And I love how Amy or Linda was speaking about kind of doing something to get something back. And that was a big turning point for me when I realized I can serve selfish, I can selfishly serve self for like selfish reasons. I don't think I said that right, but I can
Selfless.
selflessly serve selfishly. And I was like, bingo, bango. That's a sweet spot for me, is when I can get something back from it. And that's what the two kind of comes in, but it's just about worth. And you can't assign that as a value necessarily. It's just because you're being you and you're giving something in exchange for that. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, thanks. Anyone else?
Saying what immediately popped into my head when you asked that question was this book written by Susan Rhodes called The Positive Enneagram. And in that book, he sort of maps the Enneagram onto the process of creating, designing, manufacturing, and selling a product. It's so clever because she starts out at the top of the Enneagram with the 9, which is kind of like the vision, and then goes over to the 1 where you sort of, clarify and perfect that idea. And then you just keep going around the Enneagram, and each of the types has something unique to contribute to this process of bringing this product to fruition and getting it out into the marketplace. And I think that is an ingenious sort of a map to bring to organizations, to have people appreciate the different gifts that each type on the Enneagram brings to the work that they're involved in. Because and that's really one of the great gifts of learning the Enneagram, is you learn to understand and appreciate the gifts and the talents and the challenges of all of the 9 types. But I think that's, partly what we're missing here today, is this real appreciation for and a real inquiry and search into what each person's gifts are and what they can alone contribute. And you see this all the time in meetings, in workplaces, where there might be 6 or 8 people in the meeting and 2 or 3 people do most of the talking, and some people never say a word. And you're like, oh my gosh. But usually there's one person in that group who everyone agrees, when they talk, they have something very useful to say, but you almost have to make sure you ask, because otherwise it may not get contributed. So anyway, I think there is a place for leadership, but I think we're losing a lot. And that idea that Susan Rhodes talks about in that book could be a real contribution.
You're making me come back to the symbolism, Linda, and this idea of the law of one and the round
Mhm.
table and King Arthur, and the idea of taking it from vertical, which just by the sense of vertical, it's like the lower is not as good as the upper, and putting it either in the circle, which is ideal, or a spectrum, that no point on the needle is better than another. It just offers a different value.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Any other questions?
Nancy, I just wanted to say this panel really exceeded expectations. So thank you so much. You all shared so openly and thoroughly. And for once, I do not have questions. But I did want to ask you now, I do have, may I put an announcement in the chat about
Sure.
okay, on Wednesday night, there's a free Enneagram presentation. It's called Using the Enneagram for Awakening to Our Essence, Overcoming the Illusion of Separateness. And it's with Kaylee Wellborn. And so I'm just going to put that information in the chat and then how you can sign up if you'd like to attend.
Awesome. Is she in Colorado?
Yeah, she's in Colorado. She's also is the Colorado affiliate on the board, on the National Enneagram Board. So
Kelly
yes,
Wellborn?
Welborn.
I'm going to reach out to her. We've revived the IEA Colorado. We're not a chapter anymore. We're affiliate. So I need to get her on. All right.
I
Thank you,
can't
Joyce.
get it to, yeah, I can't get it in the chat. I don't know why. Maybe I put too much in.
Just try it again. You'll get it
All
in.
right.
Just relax. You'll get it in.
Okay. All right.
All right. Thank you. Any other shares for our panelists?
Yeah, it won't go.
Try typing it instead of pasting it. All right, well, let's just ask our panelists for our wrap up. What advice would you give to your younger self and why? I love Susan just wrote, I exist, therefore I am. I exist, therefore I have value. That's a good one, Susan. Thank you. Linda, we'll start with you. What advice would you give your younger self and why?
Um, take some of the focus off of work. Everything else on Paul's little seesaw
Yeah.
thing is a big one. And another one is to take a couple of small breaks every day. I push myself relentlessly every day to get as much done as I can get done. And on the rare occasion that I take a few minutes to just do something else or rest or whatever, it's amazing how it can rejuvenate you. I rarely take the opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah. To rest, to pause, what Amy was saying.
Mhm.
Joyce just got that up on the chat, and I do know Callie. She's not on the board anymore. She resigned, but Callie is awesome. So do make a note of that. But thank you, Linda. Yeah, that's great advice. All right, Amy, what would you share?
I would say stay true to yourself. when just making sure you don't waver from what you know is important in life, and don't give too much of yourself to others. So there are leaders that can be very demanding, and again, I'm a people pleaser, and really at the end of the day, I look at some of them, not all, but some. They didn't deserve everything that they got from me. I really poured my heart and soul into it, and sometimes it's appreciated, but other times it's just expected, and not from everybody. Not everybody does it, but I do it probably to an extreme, and it was not always necessary. So it's kind of take care of yourself, like Linda said. I like that. I never thought much about what do I want? What do I need here? What can I ask for? So yeah, I'd be stronger in that, stronger willed in that. And
Yeah, this idea of balance is big for
balance
the
is
three.
big.
Yeah.
Very big. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. And Abby, wrap us up on that. What would you tell your younger self?
I think firstly is to try and stay connected to yourself and what that means. It's kind of hard when you've added so much. It's like, what do what's left when so it's like kind of hard to come back to it. But with my kids, I try to have them remain who they are, and track those little things that just show up, that you're like, that's there's essence there, to hold on to it for them, because once you've added on and once you've changed it, or you really kind of don't know. And so I had to go back to like the stuff I enjoyed, the music I listened to, just to try to help me get back there. And I still don't really know then what to do with it. It's very hard for me to not know to not have something that's come of all of this. Is it really all of this is now just for me to live with what I had going into prior to the trauma of being like, okay, now I got this family, I got everything that I want, check, check, check. But somehow I'm not satisfied in that. I want, and that's where it's like the value, I want it to mean something. I want kind of not a legacy for me, but it's that efficiency part. I want to save other people time. I don't want it to take a decade. I don't want it to take a trauma for somebody to trigger them and to wake them up. And, I don't want people to have to experience this. But then at the same time, there's a song that says, you can't tell me nothing. And it's almost true. Like, you have this free advice, but maybe you can't tell them it. They have to experience it. And so letting go that, it's not on me to change the world or to make them see or any of those things. Just being you, living life here. And Linda, I'm in Hillsborough, Illinois, so I'm an hour north of you. Living here in Hillsborough, Illinois, in my small town, and I go to the coffee shop, and the person I run into, that's where I was supposed to be that day, and that's what I was supposed to do. I'd still love for there to be money involved in that, but but that's just because that's the world we're living in. Is like, sure, I'd like to be able to put a pool in and have the money, and realizing that's not where the value is either. And stopping that and being like, okay, no, truly just me being me is the value, and kind of ticking off that's the tick off box, and you've completed it for the day. It's hard to get around that, but try.
Trusting that divine order. Yeah. All right, we got
Nancy,
5 minutes.
Can I say something real quick?
Yes, go ahead.
So this came to me when Abby was just talking. I read a lot of Enneagram books, and always there is mentioned your true nature. And I mean, that was like this existential, crisis. I'm like, what does that mean?
Great
What
question.
does that really mean for a 3? because we just don't take any time for ourselves, and we're always, just so focused on everything but our, inner selves. And I haven't come to a complete, answer on this. I think it's more than one thing, but in my reading and the trainings that I've done recently, one of the things that has resonated with me as a response to what is your true nature, it is, what am I experiencing internally at this present moment in time? That is what is true for me right now. And so that has helped me a lot, and has propelled me to spend more time exploring what's happening on the inside, because that is my true nature at this moment.
Yeah, and you're going back to the power of the pause, and that igniting those three centers of intelligence. What am I thinking? What am I feeling? What am I doing? And bringing consciousness there.
Nancy, can I say one more thing?
Yeah, got 3 minutes.
Um, she made me think about the whole, like, what do you want? And a lot of times that was like, well, what do you want to do? Or what do you want to look? And I kind of have been embracing the fact that I I don't want to narrow myself down to one thing. Like, even my food, I hate eating one thing. Like a bowl of soup, it's like, I need some bread, I need some crackers, I need some salad to go with it. I need variety. And even,
Limitlessness.
yes, like my clothes and my hair, it's like, I like dressing up in heels and getting dressed up and wearing makeup one day, but I also like wearing the tennis shoes. And people see me around town and they're like, you're always, you're, are you a 70s? And then now all of a sudden you're in the 2000s. And it's like, I really truly enjoy it. And for a while I was trying to fit, and like I would put on the persona, like, what season is it? And I was always ahead of trends. Like, as soon as I would do something, and I took pride in that. And when I really was just coming down to me, I don't enjoy being in the box. I do enjoy kind of chameleon and being, and it's just and it's like, I think a little bit of the four.
I was gonna say that's the 4. Lean in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you
And I think people can take that and be like, oh, as a 3, I wanted to not do that anymore. So I stripped it down, and I did the natural hair, and I did the no makeup, and I didn't worry about my image. And I was like, I missed it. And so I think kind of figuring out, we can play in that way and embrace the fact that and it's okay for people who are like, want to look the same as they have 20 years ago, but like, it is okay to shift and be different, and you're not changing who you are.
Yeah. And again,
all of it, and having choices. Yeah. All right, you have been a spectacular panel. You've been a spectacular audience. Thank you. Thank you so, so much. I'll post this up on the YouTube, and I'm going to stop the recording.